AfroComicCon 2021. Rewrite the future with us.
Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to AfroComicCon's Superwoman of Hollywood's editing panel. My name is Juan Davis, and I'm so excited to be here today with you. Before we get started, just a disclaimer. AfroComicCon is a nonprofit which depends on donations in order to bring the diverse programming at the yearly event and additional programs throughout the year which benefit the community. Please donate by clicking the donate button on the event platform. So today I'm so excited to be here talking with the incredibly talented editing team behind A Black Lady Sketch Show. So joining us today is the supervising editor, Daisha Broadway, and also Stephanie Philo. And I'm so excited to get a chance to talk with them today.
Hi.
Hi, Daisha. How are you?
Good.
Hello, Stephanie. All right. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. All right. So first off, I want to just say congratulations on your recent Emmy award.
Thank you.
Definitely a great accomplishment, and just great seeing people like me. Well, not all the way like me, but like me in certain ways,
Yeah.
doing big things on big stages. So, like, first question I would say is what does it mean to you to be a part of like the first all-female women of color team to win an Emmy award for variety editing? How does that make you feel?
No, I think I'm still like beside myself. I don't think asked to Stephanie, but it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since we won by now, and I think that it still hasn't really hit. I keep the award locked away in a box. Like I don't even have it on a shelf. Like it's so trippy to me that happened. And I think in the moment it was just trying to like live in the moment and kind of experience what was happening, but it all feels like a blur. Obviously it's a great honor in the first place just to be on a team that looked like us, and that, our entire post team was all women and non-binary people, and I've never, you just never get to work like that. So it was already an honor to be a part of that. And then to win, I think I was just in complete shock, but also like trying not to be too humble, because I also feel like we deserved it. And so it was a weird mix of like, oh my God, we actually got something we earned, you know what I mean? I don't know. It was I don't know, Stephanie can answer.
No, I think I'm kind of the same. I still haven't fully processed it. It's kind of just like when they announced us and we went up on stage, I honestly don't remember being there. There's there's a video of it, and Daisha gave a really amazing speech. That's like great to hear now, but then I'm like, what was I doing in the moment? I couldn't think of I was like, where do I look? Like, what am I supposed to do? So it's kind of like that now where, I'll walk past the Emmy and I'm just like, oh, holy crap, this is like a thing this is something that happened. So yeah, it's still just a matter of processing it. And I think it's so special too, both of us have kind of spoken on this over the past like several weeks, is just, maybe someone who's looking to get into this industry who, didn't realize that people who look like us are here. I'm hoping that it's something that encourages them to take this step or take this kind of career path, because it's possible.
All right. Yeah. And I also just know, being an editor, like a lot of times you're sitting in your editing bay and you don't get an opportunity to get the limelight like the director or the actor. All of the actors are sitting on, late night talk shows.
I also think we don't do this. I don't think editors get into this profession for that,
Oh, yeah.
So it's weird when it happens, because we are just like, I think editors love to tell stories, and we get to do that, and we have like creative sides and we have technical sides, and so like this is a great profession for us, but we don't necessarily think that something like this will ever happen. We just,
Oh yeah.
are excited to be telling the stories that we're telling, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a trait of editors. A lot of editors like to be more behind the scenes than like being up all up in personal and stuff. But yeah, like very, very, very exciting stuff. I'm like so happy for y'all that you did get a chance to win that award. And I'm thinking this is probably not the last one. So get used to probably going up on the stage and
well, it's not the first one, by the way.
All right. So I actually had a chance to check out the episode of Sister May I Call You Ocean, and I thought it was definitely hilarious. Gabrielle Union was on there. I thought it was a very funny material. So why did you choose that episode, I say, for contention out of all of the different episodes that the sketch show has?
I think all of us, like when we were thinking about what we wanted to submit, we just listed like what our favorite sketches were and what we thought would be a smart choice to submit, and all of them fell into this episode. It's just so like, there's such a variety, but also it's it's just such a fun one.
Yeah, it's a like I like this episode because every sketch is just very different from the next. They all are completely different genres, and like it feels like it almost feels like a disjointed way of putting together an episode. But I think that's like the beauty of the show, is we can do something like that because we have the interstitials that tie everything together. And so I really like that. It starts with a talk show, and then it goes film noir, and then we're in biblical times, and it's just it's all over the place, but it still feels like one like cohesive episode, and I really like it. And yeah, I think it does have like some of our funniest sketches in it for sure.
All right, cool. So I know like a lot of times, like being an editor, you end up having to work on projects like by yourself, like maybe editing material. So how was it just having a collaborative process with other like editors, like Deja working with Stephanie and you working with Jessica as well? How did that process work, I would say?
It was great. There's no way one of us could have cut all of those sketches. There was no way. And because they were all, I think there was 45 of them, and
oh wow.
Yeah, and they're all different. We're cutting 45 short stories, and I love it that there's 3 editors, because you get 3 different styles and 3 different perspectives on something. And because I was a supervising editor, I got to watch what Jessica and Stephanie were doing, and it was great because I would watch it and be like, oh, I wouldn't have even thought to do that, and so I think that it's great to get different eyes on these things. It was a little harder because we were working from home, and Stephanie can probably speak to that too, but like to me, it makes the sketches, it elevates them a little bit more, because you get like different viewpoints on it. And I think that Stephanie has a different style than I do, and Jessica has a different style. And so it was great to like sort of see them from different points of view.
Yeah. And then having 2 other people to kind of bounce ideas off of is super helpful when it comes to a show like this, because everyone's like opinion on what's funny is different. So it's just a matter of finding like the very best moments and figuring out the best way to tackle like improv moments and, reaction shots, and, where do we want to put VFX? Where do we want to, have music? And so it's definitely helpful to have a team when you're trying to put together a show like this.
Awesome. So, all right. So yeah, so like what I would say, what influenced you, like out of all the roles, like be an editor, what influenced you to become an editor? And like I would say, what are maybe some of the influences, some of the people that may have influenced you in the industry that you can think of?
I mean, when I was younger, I watched the movie Seven. I talk
Oh
about
wow, yeah.
the seven opening titles all the time because, and it was so inappropriate probably that I was watching it at this
Yeah.
age, um,
Yes.
but those opening titles just kind of like changed my view on like how you tell stories. And I didn't really know that editing was like a career path that you could take. I was just kind of like,
Mm,
oh, maybe I'll like write. I just wanted to be involved in TV and film. So it's like once I came out here and I was kind of like knocking on every door I could find, I got a job as like a night assistant editor because I had
all right.
toyed around a bit with Final Cut in the past. And so once I did that, I was like, wait, this is kind of like what I really liked when I was younger or was interested in when I was younger. So I just kind of like built from that.
Yeah, I was always interested in movies and TV, but I think the editing bug really came from watching like specific movies in college, kind of like Stephanie was saying. So like I was really obsessed with City of God, which I
Mm,
saw in college. And it's just like seven, it's not the opening titles, but it was, I mean, it was the opening titles actually, but the opening sequence of the film really got me interested in editing because it was, like 2 lines of dialogue, but it was mostly just storytelling through images and music and sound. And it's literally like from the point of view of a chicken, like the opening sequence. And it's
yeah.
a chicken that's about to die, and it can tell it's about to die, so it escapes. Which is like it's a huge like it's the exact same as like the story in the film. Like, and I was like, it's such a great way to start this movie that
Mhm.
probably wasn't scripted like that because it was probably like, oh, we're gonna start with Rocket's VO, and then we're gonna do da 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 da. But at some point, it changed to be this moment, and I started talking to my professor who played it in the class about it, and we started talking about editing through that, and started watching other films looking for the editing, like looking for what about the editing I enjoyed, and did like historical research, found out most editors used to be women, and then for some reason it
Yeah.
changed, and then it became this very white male dominated field. And whenever I think you look at something like that, especially when you're young, you go, oh well, can I do it then? Because nobody's there that and then you do more research and you find out about like Terry Lynn Shropshire, and you're like, wait, there's one, and then you find out the person who cut Friday was a Black man, and I'm like, oh wait, so I think you sort of grasp at those things, which is why I like Stephanie was saying it's important that people see us here now, because it's just helpful, I think, to get you excited about pursuing something that is going to be, hard to break into. But yeah, I think most of my influences came from watching films in college and running around as a kid, watching like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Back to the Future, and things like that.
Yeah, and both of those films that you did mention were great examples of really, really great films. Like Seven, that's one of my favorites. I love City of God. Yeah. One thing I would say as being an editor, I know that it probably when you watch films, you actually look more like it's kind of harder to watch films for like when I started editing. I just remember because I started seeing all of the cuts like before.
Mm-hmm.
You see every little mistake for black frames in there, anything, like oh everything.
Yeah.
So I would say like a lot of like I just know some editors like they end up having to work on like projects that aren't like the most fun projects to work on. They may get footage and like, hey, you got to turn this water into wine. Come on, make magic. Like, and that happens a lot in our industry, like for editors. So, how was it to actually be able to work with such a talented cast and on a show like a Black Lady Sketch Show?
Whew, it was wild. I mean, me and Stephanie both have reality TV backgrounds, so we know exactly what you're talking about. But it's one of the things that made me want to switch from reality TV to scripted was wanting to be able to choose takes, and wanting to be able to work with actors and see different performances and choose performances, because that's part of our jobs as editors. And in reality TV, you don't get to do that. And so, I mean, it was amazing to work with, like season 1, I got to cut Angela Bassett, and it was insane. Like she just, every take she gave you something different, and each one was brilliant. And but she understood the assignment, and she had on these long nails and like this weave, and she's like you've never seen Angela Bassett before. She cussed. It was crazy. I think Robin is such a like comedic force, and Gabrielle Dennis is not somebody I knew was funny until I started working on the show, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's hilarious. I think our Ashley Nicole Black is like my muse. I feel like they're such a great cast, and they always give you something a little bit different, including like a lot of improv to work with. That I think it's been brilliant. I think you like I always say, you never really know if you're going to get to do something like this again. So you just kind of like revel in it while we have it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such a supportive team, which like I don't feel like you come across that often in this industry. Not that it's like not supportive, but it's nice being in an environment with other Black women who are just like lifting each other up. You really just don't always encounter that in this industry, so it's just a really like fun, and again, like Daisha said, you never know when you're gonna come across a project like this. So
awesome. So like I know Daisha, you worked on Insecure in the past, or you're still working on Insecure now, right?
I actually just last week did my final mix for Insecure, but it's done. And season 5 is amazing. I think it drops October 24th. But yeah, I have 2 episodes this season.
All right. Yeah. So I'm kind of really excited about that, because that's like one of my favorite shows, and like I'm so sad to see it be leaving like after the season. But
yeah. But I feel like it was done.
Yeah.
I feel like that story, I was like, I think it's gonna end very well, and I think it's a great time to end it too, I think.
Yeah, and Stephanie, you had a chance to work on Surviving R. Kelly. I did see that, and that was something that you worked on. So I would say, just like, of all of the projects that you worked on, which one would you say stands out in comparison to some of the others that you worked on? I know that this one a Black Lady Sketch Show has to stand out because of like the environment that you're in and everything. But like, is there anything else that you may have worked on that may stand out?
Yeah, as far as like experience goes, probably this one, the 40-year-old version.
Oh yeah.
Because it was a unique experience, and that there was another editor who cut the Sundance version, and so I was picking it up to cut the Netflix version of it. And it was right around the time George Floyd was murdered, and then Breonna Taylor was murdered, and then I was working with Rada, and she was in New York and I was here in LA, and so we had the time difference, and we worked entirely over like the internet, Evercast, just calling each other, emails, and doing the entire cut through the internet. We've never met in person, but we talk all the time now. She's like my girl. But we've never met in person. But it was an incredible experience. It was the first feature film that I actually got to work on. But it was an odd experience because people were like protesting outside of both of our windows. And we on the weekend, I would go protest, and then I would come back and we would start working again. It was a very strange moment because we were both really angry about what was going on in the world, and we had to make this comedy at the same time. And then Rada made a good way of putting it was like, this is our protest, is giving Black people especially something joyful to laugh at, and giving older Black women especially to see themselves in a film, reinventing themselves, and how they can change And I also think the film is just hilarious, and I had so much fun working with Rada on it. But I think it'll always stand out to me in my career as something that was happening in a very interesting time. And
Yeah.
I think we pulled it off, and I really love the way the film plays now.
Awesome.
Yeah, you guys killed it.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like it's the most Libra answer ever.
Oh my
But
God. How many? Two things. This and then this.
no, I was gonna say I'm always proud of everything I get a chance to work on for different reasons. Daisha's
Libra answer.
That's a
but if I had to single out anything, I do a lot of social impact campaigns on the side.
Yes.
And a couple years ago, we were lucky enough to get the attention. Me and my cousin do these together a lot, Zinga Blake. And we were lucky enough to get the attention of Tribune Media, which is like a news conglomerate. And they were like, we're trying to kind of reinvent how we tell stories. And they wanted to kind of highlight these different marginalized voices that maybe weren't, being talked about. So we were brought on to create kind of like a documentary, like a news documentary series called Mental State. So we were focusing on kind of like what the mental state of these different communities are. So we had one episode that covered ICE deportations and like how families are affected. We were following like one family in particular whose like the father was deported 9 years ago, and they've been trying to get him back to the States ever since. So it's like following the children, seeing what their like mental state is. We had some episodes about like being trans in the workforce and what kind of difficulties and challenges are there. We had some episodes about like youth aging out of foster care. So it was just really like a rewarding experience to be able to, and this aired on all of their affiliate like news stations throughout the country. So it was like a really cool opportunity to get sort of the social impact work that we've been doing for so long seen by people, and hopefully like getting, having those stories resonate, and people maybe who didn't think about youth aging out of foster care or didn't think about these types of things. And, now hopefully they are, and are hopefully getting more involved in that kind of just telling those stories and helping people in those situations. So.
Oh, yeah, that's really awesome. Really awesome. Yeah. Social, like anytime, like, yeah, that you work on some social impact stuff that actually has that makes a difference. I think it's also always awesome. Yeah. So, with that being said, like if there are like a lot of young women of color out there right now who may be just getting started in their careers, might be coming out of film school, editing like someone's $100 budget film, and they see you and see like the success that you're having. Like what advice would you give them for their journey to try to make it in the industry, just as being like a young woman of color just trying to break into editing?
So,
That's deep. It's kind of deep, right?
yeah, I mean, I feel like everything you say is going to sound cliche, but it's.
But cliche is good, like they need to hear, like they may not have, hearing it from maybe a professor and hearing it from everyone, like it's still like, it's always going to be good advice.
I would say like I can say what I did. Okay, so I didn't know anybody in the industry, 0 people, didn't have any family in the industry, and just didn't stop, if that makes sense. So it's honestly mentally, I mean, you want to talk about mental state, I feel like you have to really bet on yourself. You have to like you have to rely on yourself a little bit more than you would other people. Because I feel like a lot of people say, oh, it's about who you know, you need connections to get here, here, and here. But everybody's path into this industry is different. If you talk to anybody here or, anybody we know, everybody got in here a little bit different than the other person. So, I got my first assistant editing gig in reality TV by applying for it, which is unheard of, but it happened. And it had to happen that way because I didn't know anybody. And from there, I began to network and get to know people. And, the people you work with are usually the people that will recommend you to someone else who's looking for someone and, things like that. But I think you have to stay as ready as possible because when the moment comes, you just need to be on. And you need to be, you need to be good. You need to know what you're doing, but also understand that it's okay if you don't know everything. Ask questions of everybody you meet and try to, retain that knowledge and then practically use it. Because I think that I see a lot of younger people networking as if it's a game almost. They're playing the game to win so that they can become this. But I think it's more important that you cultivate relationships with people, and people can smell the sort of fakeness on you if you're just trying to meet them to get so that they can help you get here. I think you have to just it's about the grind, but I think it's also, if you want to do this, you just have to really bet on yourself and then keep moving forward, because there's going to be a lot of hurdles, especially as people of color. It's just going to be, they're just going to be there, until this world becomes a better place. Those hurdles are just going to be there. You just can't let them stop you. You have to hop over them, find a way around them, and keep going, because you, like I said, as corny as it sounds, you believe in yourself. And that you can get there. It's a very long road. It's a long career, once you get in. And so I think you could pace yourself and not feel like you're just I'm 36. It's too late for me. It's not it's very, I think you can just really, there's no clock that you need to put on it. I think it's more important that you, like I said, cultivate relationships with people and do good work versus I need to tick off all these boxes. Otherwise it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Echoing what Daisha said. Yeah. Echoing all of it. It's perfect. I know when I came out here, I also just didn't know anybody, and it's just been a matter of just working, always just work and try. And if you see an opportunity, always try for it, even if it seems impossible to achieve. I think it's always worth getting your name out there and having people at least know that you're out there trying. Also, just looking at, if you want to edit, look at the editors at the end of projects that you really like and get familiar with what their work is. And if you can, try to connect with them, even if it's just just a matter of asking them questions, or can I just, I hate saying this expression, pick your brain, but just I guess just gleaning as much information from people as you can, because when you see someone who's had a career that's been going for a really long time, they've clearly gone through so many different trials and tribulations as well. So it's great to just learn as much as you can from everyone that you meet. And then also just, if you're not working, just always be preparing, always be practicing, because you never know when preparedness and opportunity are going to meet. So just stay busy, stay trying.
All right, that's wonderful. That's great advice. Yeah, that's so I would say AfroComicCon, this AfroComicCon is its theme has always been Afrofuturism, and creating and highlighting stories that envision a liberated future for Black and Brown people. So what would be your Afrofuturism vision? I know it's a deep one. Another deep one. Oh yeah. Curveball. Hit you with a curveball with that one.
Yeah. Like ideally?
Yeah, ideally, like liberated future for Black and brown people. Like how do you see us like in the future liberated? What's your
Go,
vision?
Stephanie.
Give her time to think of something.
You.
Like, I mean, I feel like in our profession in post-production, there's so few. I just come across so few like other Black editors, which is a shame to me. So I hope that, you know, as far as like post-production and editing and our side of things goes, I just hope to see a world where like it's not an anomaly to see another Black editor on a project. Like I shouldn't walk onto something and be like, oh wow, there's not just me here, you know. And unfortunately, that's a lot of times what it feels like. I know, you know, Daisha was actually the first like Black lady editor that I ever worked with a few years ago, and I was just like, oh, oh, we're out here. It's not only me. So I would love to see, yeah, just see a world where post and this industry in general is diversified, but also where people listen to our voices and value our stories, and we're not just here for optics.
Yeah, that's the major key for me too, is that it's not this, you know, we had this post a Black box on Instagram moment. And I think that sort of era created a lot of jobs for Black people in the industry. But I always say, you know, I would love to do a follow-up survey with everybody and see how they went. Because I think actual like sort of liberation from that, okay, we hired 2, so we're good. Now we just have to make sure we have 1, so we're good. You know, that I would love to move far, far away from that and just, you know, hire people with intention, and that intention being that we need diverse voices, we need diverse perspectives on this story, and you know, in particular because of what the story is. But beyond that, I would love to see, you know, I always say like, you know, like, oh, what makes people think that, you know, Stephanie or I can't cut a Marvel film? Like, what, you know, like it's about fictional superheroes. It doesn't need to have the same, you know, everyone is supposed to relate because they're humanizing these characters, but not one of us is a superhero. Not one white man is. So why is it only white men cutting these films? You know, like that. So for me, it would be, you know, bigger opportunities given to people of color, because you're intentionally looking for, like I said, different perspectives and different voices on this. And then just in general, I think, you know, there's probably people, you know, I see people on Twitter all the time in reaction to our winning the Emmy or our nomination, who are just like, why is it always about race? You know, that type of thing.
Oh wow, yeah.
I would, you know, I would like, it really wouldn't have to be about race if you didn't always make it about race. So like, I think it's just, I think those types of things, if for me, you know, Afrofuturism and Black liberation would be an understanding from other people without judgment, you know, just trying to understand and sort of like opening their minds a little bit to what might be going on with other people who aren't like them. Because whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, it is important. It's important that we say it's 2021. And this is the first time this has ever happened. And it's important to point it out, because if we don't point it out, where does the change come from? You know, if we just brush over it, nobody talks about it, then we can just go back to where we were. you know, and I don't think we should go backwards. I think we should just constantly be moving forwards with our history in mind so that we can make better changes for the future. I am not on a soapbox though, because these are just my random thoughts. But when you say that, that's what I think about. It's an odd reaction to our win and nomination. It's been like randomly like polarizing, I think. And I think that it would be better for if everybody was just like, that's great. You know, more of this. If it was an all Hispanic, you know, team who won, I'd be like, that's great. More of that. You know, it shouldn't bug anyone, but it does. And so for me, like that, if that were gone, that would be
There shouldn't be a world where like in an article it's like in an upset victory Black Lady Sketch Show. Like, no.
I was like, who was upset? I wasn't mad.
And one thing I do think is that we're underrepresented across the board, like in everything. So it's just like I've been the only Black person in a lot of situations.
The thing is, our country is it's a mixed race country. There's a lot of different people here, and everybody is going to want that representation on screen and behind the scenes. Like, it's just, you know, it's and not one of us specifically it should be above the other, but it seems like the default race, especially in Hollywood, is that all the characters are white. And at first and foremost, all the characters are white, and then we need to sprinkle in some color so people aren't mad at us. You know, but it's like that doesn't represent the country and the people in it, you know. And so I think that's for me, that's part of the issue. It's like, it's not strange that, you know, Hispanic people or Asian people or Black people or trans people or gay people, it's not strange that they want to see themselves on TV. That's not strange.
Not at all. I would say we came a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
Definitely.
All right. So like, if anybody wants to follow you, see more about you, actually, let me what's next for you? Like, what's next for you guys?
What are you doing, Stephanie?
At the moment, I'm working on a show that's the polar opposite of Black Lady Sketch Show. It's called Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story.
Oh wow! Actually, I'm interested in that.
It's a limited series. It's a limited series that sort of follows, obviously, Jeffrey Dahmer's story, but I think it takes an interesting approach because all of his victims, or a majority of his victims, were people of color, specifically Black people, but also people of color. And I think that wasn't really highlighted when this happened. It's like, it was such a sensationalized story. So, you know, I think it's good that there's, you know, that someone's taking an approach that's, you know, kind of highlighting that aspect of it a little more than it has been in the past. So, I'm excited for people to see it. It comes out in 2022, so there's still a little ways to go. But and then hopefully something funny afterwards. You know.
I can already see that that's going to be like a morbid whole thing. That's going to be a little bit like sitting in the editing bay having to edit together some Jeffrey Dahmer stuff. I can see that. Taking a toll on you for a little while.
It's very heavy, but but I think worth it in the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Stephanie's done some like heavy stuff in general. I get to do a lot of comedies. Me and Stephanie did do one very heavy documentary together, but like, how do you, now I'm asking questions, sorry.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Stephanie, how do you deal when you're doing a lot, because you do like, some of it is for the greater, I mean, actually all of it is for the greater good, because it's you know, it's helpful to get those stories out there, but how do you sort of keep yourself sane in those moments?
I don't know that I'm ever sane, to be honest, but you know, I think like we were talking about before, we both have kind of like a reality background in the past. And so I always kind of found this like balance where I'm like, okay, like at night I'm working on these like kind of heavier, like difficult to manage subjects. And then during the day, like this is maybe a bit lighter and not as taxing on the brain. I don't know how to find the balance though, because now it's like if I'm working on a show that's heavy and also working on like say a PSA that's heavy or something on the side, it makes it it's tough because I think as editors we are so like we delve so much into the footage, like you kind of put your soul into it, right? Because you're just trying to tell the best story you can. So yeah, I don't know what the balance is. It's nice when there is, like a Black lady sketch show or something that's funny or lighter that I can work on, and kind of change it up a little bit and not always be in the heavier side of things. But yeah, if either of you have an answer for me as well, that would be.
Well, when we were working on that one documentary, I would go to this wine bar on my lunch breaks. Sometimes I would have a glass of wine. Sometimes I wouldn't. I would just go to the wine bar. And then I started like taking Stephanie and I think Brayden, but like I was like, I have to like be in nature. I have to be like outside. I like usually my weekends are for being in nature and away from a computer, away from this office. Like I'll go on a hike. I'll go do anything that's not related to work, just so that because I feel like you need to recharge and sort of like get out of that headspace. Because that one we did, I don't do a lot of them, but the one we did, I was like, I'm tired every day.
Hard. And
like
you can't shut it off either. That's something that kills me about this job sometimes, because if you have like really harrowing footage, you're gonna go home and like still think about it because it's that like haunted me for 10 hours today, and now I'm at home still haunted or still trying to figure out how to tell this story. So it's getting out in nature, like you said, or just finding ways to break it up, even if it's like in the middle of the day and you just have to take a walk or like listen to music. Like sometimes actually on this show, like I'll see these heavy dailies, but I'll play like something peppier on the side, like music. You have to have something that can like help you kind of turn it off a little bit.
You have to have you have to have a happy place that you can go to.
Because sometimes it's like you can't unsee footage. It's all into our brains, so it's good to at least have something that changes it up a bit.
Yeah, I have that lo-fi raccoon on YouTube, like on a loop in another monitor. I want to be in that place, that space that raccoon is in, where like headphones, shut off from the world, studying but not studying. That raccoon is constantly deleting a sentence and retyping it. I'm like, that's what I want to. I want to be there. Yeah, music is definitely helpful. Right? Yeah. But to answer the question you asked 30 minutes ago, I'm working on something I cannot talk about, but it is it's a feature and I'm very excited to be working on it. The director is someone I really, really look up to and admire. So I'm excited to be working with her as well. But I think it also comes out in 2022 at some point. And
all right. So sounds exciting. All right. So if someone wants to follow you, just to know more about you, what's your social handles? I'm more of like, I'm kind of an old school guy on the social side, but so where can they follow you? Where can they go see more of your work? I mean,
at Day Broadway. They're all at Day Broadway. I'm only on Instagram and Twitter, and I honestly only look at Instagram. I'm an old lady, and it's hard to keep up with things. But it's just at DAY Broadway.
All right.
And mine is just my name at Stephanie Philo across all platforms. So.
All right. Yeah, and I wanted to just give a shout out to Jessica. I know she wasn't able to make it here today,
Yes.
but she's here in spirit.
Yeah. Right there.
All right. So I want to thank you all for our conversation. It was a wonderful conversation. It was a pleasure talking with you both. And I definitely look forward to seeing what you're going to have in store for the future as well. Yeah. And thank you so much. Also, I want to thank Impact 24 PR and AfroComicCon for putting this panel together and for everyone for watching. I just want to kick out one more disclaimer before we go. Just a reminder that AfroComicCon is a nonprofit which depends on donations in order to bring the diverse programming at the yearly event and additional programs throughout the year which benefit the community. So please donate by clicking the donate button on the event platform. Peace and blessings to all. And thank you.
Yeah, peace out. Thanks, Juan.
Thank you.
AfroComicCon 2021. Rewrite the future with us.